What we have seen in your bank and with other banks is that when you've tried to do something with consumers, the consumer has rebelled. And there have been occasions when you've had to row back and change policies.
Right.
What does that tell you?
Well, it's not true with us. So
No,
we've been
with
growing
others.
our accounts and
Fees.
Well, think of this, okay? Small business lending at JPMorgan Chase was up 50% year over year. Middle market lending at JPMorgan Chase is up 18% year over year. We've got more clients, more customers, more online banking. And yes, every now and then, as any business knows, you do something the customers don't like and you try to fix it. So we've had that situation before and we'll fix it again. But most of our customers actually like us. I mean, we survey them all the time, we test all the time, and we have some great new products coming, which we think they'll love.
And if you look at lending in the US and you look at the role of banking now as playing in the US, do you think banking and bank credit is playing the role it should be playing, or is there greater scope for it to assist in the recovery?
So in the United States, it is playing the role it should be playing. Most of the banks that have reported numbers, small business lending's up, middle market lending's up, consumer lending, believe it or not, is up. Auto, student lending, credit cards up a little bit. Mortgage lending is actually flat, but if you look year over year, I think it can actually start going up soon. So.
And when we put this into the context of the U.S. election, and I'm sorry to take you into deep political waters. Okay. Everybody does, though, don't they?
Yeah.
What's your gut feeling on this election at this early stage?
You know, my gut feeling is going to be close. The economy's not doing great. You know, I think the candidate is going to be Mitt Romney, and I think he's a successful.
You think it is going to be Romney?
That's my personal opinion. I could be dead wrong, but I think
it's not your preference. Let's emphasize.
I'm not. It's my opinion who the Republican candidate is going to be.
Right.
Because I think he's an experienced, knowledgeable, successful guy. He clearly doesn't like talking about himself or his money very much, but he'll get through that. And then you have President Obama, who's also very experienced, great campaigner, great speech giver, but he's lost some of the independence, some of the youth. And, you know, this red state, blue state thing isn't going to happen the same way it happened last time. So, and I think the Republican campaign will be better than John McCain was 4 years ago. So it's possibly going to have a pretty close race, but I don't know.
All right. You just alluded to Romney and his money. When you see the numbers, and I'm aware that you obviously earn more than a buck or two yourself, but you are the head of a bank. When you see the numbers and you see the levels of inequality and you see what Romney are you worried that there is an entrenchment, whether it's in the Occupy or in civil society, the haves versus the have-nots, is now becoming an entrenched view within society? Yeah,
it's becoming an entrenched view, but here's the parts I agree with, okay? People are angry because a lot of people in Wall Street made a lot of money, their companies went down their tubes, and I agree with them. That's a total disgrace. You know, but I look at JPMorgan. We never had parachutes. We never had change of control. We've always risk-adjusted results. We've always looked at results over a long period of time. We never had special severance packages and stuff like that. And we've always paid a lot in stock. So a lot of new rules being promulgated, we were always doing them. But I do think we're all better off if society gets increasingly equitable. The question you got to deal with is, how do you do that? And I'm going to mention just two.
Please.
One is progressive taxation, which most people I know are very much in favor of. The second we got to do a better job is giving people better opportunities. So if you go to the United States, half the kids in inner city schools don't graduate. And that's the biggest sin we make in our country, right there.
If you, Jamie, a final question, and totally unfair, if you were to discover that your effective tax rate was 15%, what would you say?
I'd be surprised.
But
so in the United States, look, people, let's get it simple. If you earn money like waged income, that's taxed for me and other people 35% plus another 10 state and local. Okay, dividends and capital gains are 15. Now I have some of that, but I have mostly the wage income. So, but I think most people pay taxes under the law. So I'm not saying it's right. I think we should probably change some of those rules. I'm not sure about the buffer rule, but I believe in progressive taxation. I believe that maybe some of those rates are too low for some very wealthy people. Well, let's have a logical conversation. We're going to change it.
Come over here.
Yeah.
You are going to have to put your hand in your pocket and give me a franc, a euro, a dollar, or a pound, because it's going to Mountain Rescue Charity. Where on the curve of recovery do you think we are at the moment?
Right here. Though I want to say I think it's been a really complex job. I think they're going to get ahead of it. The one thing I would hope for is that I wish people collaborated more. You know, business, regulators, governments. It's completely obvious to me that governments, banks, we're all acting to counter purposes. I was at a meeting in Berlin, and the government and the ECB is saying lend more money and do all these things, and the regulators and examiners and boards are saying don't have any more exposure in Europe. Okay, well, what do you want? Because we could do either.
That's a really important point,
but you
isn't
can't
it?
do it if you're going to be punished by regulators. So I think it'd be good if people got together and said, what are we trying to accomplish? Because I think anything can be accomplished.
So what's your message to the regulators? Get off your back.
People should sit down together, collaborate, have conversations, make some big decisions and move on.